What is up, harvesters? Welcome back to the returning viewers. If you're brand new here, welcome to Hobby Harvest. My name is Ken. So today I want to talk to you guys about how to put food plots in the woods. I know I'm standing out in a field right now, but that's part of the point. We want to put food plots in the woods because sometimes out here in the open field, it's not the best place to put them. So let's get into it. So the reason why you would like to put food plots in the woods, maybe that's the only option you have. Maybe you have a completely wooded property. I am out here today on my in-laws' northeastern Wisconsin property. My property is in northwestern Wisconsin. We were just over there a couple days ago, came across the top of the state, and now we're here helping put in food plots and such. So what we're doing here is looking at this giant field. Well, why would you want to put a food plot out here? Well, first of all, it'd be easy to put it in a field. You don't have to cut trees down. It's already open. Well, okay, great. So why don't we put them out here? Well, first of all, there's not a lot of side cover out here. So if you put food in a big open field like this, it's just going to be a nighttime food source unless you can really screen that in and get that screened in. So that's why we want to put them in the woods, because hopefully in your woods, you already have some natural screening around the edges of that food plot. So if you can get in there and just open up a part of the woods that's already kind of thick, you already have that natural cover on the edges of the food plot. That's going to get those deer into that food source while it is still light out, which of course is what we need to do, because you need to get deer in front of you during the daylight if you want to hunt them legally, of course. So that's what we want to do, is get them in the woods. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first step is, of course, you do need sunlight. So we're out here, look at all this gorgeous sunlight. That is what you're looking to create in the woods. So you're going to need to get rid of some of those high canopy trees. You want to get as much sunlight down to the forest floor as possible. So this may just include cutting down a couple of those big mature trees that are blocking out the majority of the sunlight that's coming into your food plot. Now, in an ideal world, you're going to want sun up to sundown sun on that plot if you want it to grow to its full potential. In the woods, that's not going to most likely be a thing that you can do without like clear cutting your woods, and then you're not even in the woods anymore because you cut so many trees down. So just get as much sunlight down into that plot as you can. If you're trying to plant a food plot under like a full canopy, it's not going to turn out too great. There's not too many things, or anything for that matter, that's going to thrive, especially if you're trying to attract a deer herd to it, because if it's not getting sun, it's not growing up that big, and if it's not growing up that big, the deer are going to browse it down even faster on you, and you're not going to be left with anything by the time the deer hunting season comes around. We don't want to cut every tree down. So what you want to do, get on your food plot, look to the southern sun, and stick your arms up in like a 90-degree angle and look up and take all of that out. That's going to be the best sunlight that is hitting your food plot. You want to get that sunlight down to the plot. The southern sun, the sun is always in the southern sky in the northern hemisphere, even during the summer. So that angle to the south but up is the trees you need to cut out. The ones that are to the north behind you, they don't need to be taken out. The sun's not trying to shoot through those branches. And if you're out there during the day, just look at which trees are casting the biggest shadows on your food plot and just start popping those out of there until you have all that sunlight down on that food plot. That is what's going to make you have that thick, lush, green food plot that the deer are going to be attracted to. Step 2 in the woods, you need to have a decent soil. Now, a lot of woods already have decent soil because all of the years of that leaf litter coming down and decaying on the forest floor has created some really decent topsoil on that very top layer. Now, if you're in an area of the world that has really sandy soil, you do not want to get out there and till, disc, plow all of that nice little thin top layer of topsoil that's created from all that leaf litter and just like spin that into the sand, because that's not going to be great for growing a food plot for you. So instead, what you want to do is, I do highly recommend get out there with at least something like a drag harrow or a cultivator to just agitate that very top layer of soil in order to just agitate any of those roots out of there, kick any rocks out of there, any roots, anything you can kind of get tore up out of there, and to give yourself the opportunity for good seed to soil contact. Now, I love to do no-till, But that first year of establishing a food plot, I really like to get in there and make sure that that very top layer is agitated. Again, just not even maybe an inch of that topsoil. Just allow what we're planting to get growing in there. Now, if you want to spray it, you can spray it as well to try to kill anything in there. If you're in the woods, usually we can take care of our weeds just by changing the pH of the soil, because the things that grow in the woods tend to be in more acidic soil. Not always, so get that soil test to make sure, but sometimes just by adding lime, and lime's super cheap, we change the pH of the soil, and then when we change the pH of the soil, that in turn makes it so that the things that were growing in the plot natively don't want to grow there anymore because the pH is not desirable to them, and the things we want to grow there do want to grow there because the pH is desirable to them. So it's kind of like a double advantage there, that you can sort of stifle the natural vegetation but improve what you're growing just by messing with the pH. And you can do that if you need to raise your pH with lime, and that's super cheap to do as well. Now, it's a lot of work to do because that stuff is heavy and you probably need hundreds of pounds of it after you get that soil test, and that's a great way to keep those weeds stifled without actually having to go out there and spray all the expensive chemicals. Once you get your soil taken care of, yes, you can fertilize as well. It's not a horrible idea to get that fertilizer in there as well. Make sure that these things are growing at their optimal opportunity. So a plant can grow to whatever potential you give it. So if you give it good sun and good soil, the potential of that plant growth is going to be way better than if those two things are stifled. You're going to end up with a stifled plant. And then of course, you're also going to be introducing the deer browse pressure to that plot as well. So at some point, you're going to have deer eating on this. And if this stuff isn't growing fast and lush and thick, the deer are just gonna browse it all down to nothing. So the more you can get growing in there, the better. The thicker you can get it growing, the better. Now, the other thing, like I said at the beginning of this video, why we typically don't wanna just put a big plot out in a field like this is because we need cover on the side of them. And cover takes a very long time to grow and get thickened up. So although it might be super easy to plant a food plot out in a field like this, and it's got sun and it's got everything you might think it would need. Also, the soil's not as great in this field because otherwise it would be covered in trees like the surrounding areas. So the soil's actually better in the woods as well. Another reason why to plant your food plots in the woods. But what we don't want to happen is have no cover on the sides of those plots. So if we were going to try to establish switchgrass on this field and like put a food plot in the middle of it and put switchgrass around it, we could be talking 2, 3, 4 years. In this soil, it might be 5 years to get that established in order to put cover around that food plot. Now, you put a food plot out here just to take care of some of that feeding pressure from your deer herd to keep them off of the ones that you're hunting or hunting adjacent to. That's great. There is actually a food plot on the far end of this field that is just doing that. It's just taking some midnight pressure off of the plots that are used for hunting, but the deer are not out here on this plot during the daylight hours. They're out here at night. You can take a flashlight and shine them, and sure enough, they're out there at night. So of course, once they are in the woods, you have that cover around that food plot in the woods, you are going to get those deer coming in there during the daylight hours. That's really what you're shooting for. And now, of course, once you have that all taken care of, you want to figure out how you're going to hunt this. So you might think, well, I put the stand right on top of the food plot and I hunt the food plot. Now, you can do that. I have done that. Now, I prefer to hunt trails of movement in and out of that food plot. So if you establish this food source, the deer are going to start bedding down adjacent to this food source. Now, it might be 50, 100, 200 yards into the woods, depending on where that first optimal area of bedding is, but they're going to start moving from that bedding area to this food source. I like to hunt that trail that they use to come in, and if so, I'll turn it into a funnel, put a mock scrape on it, put a camera on it so you can really see that they're coming in and out of there. Guys, while we're talking about cameras, I do still have a discount code down in the description. Go check that out. You'll get 15% off on the cams and all of the accessories. So even if you're just looking for new screw and tree mounts or solar panels or batteries or whatever, all that stuff's discounted as well. Go enter that discount code. You'll get that off of everything on their website. So just go check that out, save yourself some money. Once you are hunting these though, make sure you're conscious of your wind and that you're not busting them out. So the biggest problem of putting attractions on your property is you can now bust them out by going into them to hunt them. So one reason, especially why I like to hunt those trails of movement between a food source and a bedding area, because if you're saying, okay, the deer spend a lot of time in the bedding area, they spend a lot of time in the food source, I hunt that trail between there because they're only moving through there. And if I turn that into a funnel, I know they're gonna move through there. So I'm not risking like missing them at the attraction. I know they're gonna move right through that funnel. And then that gives me the opportunity to have the chance to shoot them if I want to, or to let them pass if I want to. And they're only in my vicinity for that however long, a minute or 2 minutes it takes them to just mosey on through. They're not sitting on a food plot for 30 minutes where if the wind swirls, they smell me, they bust me, now they're completely gone. They don't want to use that food source for a couple weeks. I really like to sit where I have an opportunity to harvest them if I want to, but also not have them hang out there forever so that they don't risk smelling me, the wind changes, whatever. But then also be conscious of when you're setting these things up, that wind's not like painting into the attraction of where you're sitting. Keep your thermals in mind too, guys. Your scent will carry up in the morning and it'll carry down at night if you have topography on your land. So just keep that in mind as well. And if you guys are out there, just make sure you really block those sight lines as you're getting in and out of your stand locations. Plant some pines, plant some switchgrass if you need to, throw some shrubs in there, do whatever you can. Even if you're dropping trees while you're doing all this, kind of pile those sticks up, do whatever you can to make sure you can slip in and slip out undetected, like a hunter, like a predator, right? So you can slip in and slip out undetected, get in there, take the shot if you want or not, and get out and leave that stand unbusted so you can hunt it again in the future without thinking, oh, I blew every deer out of this area, I need to go hunt a completely other part of my property if I even hope to see anything now. So guys, just be hunters out there and you should see success this deer season. Now, if you guys feel like you got some value out of this video, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you're gonna enjoy this one. Otherwise, go check out this one and I'll catch you guys on the next one.